Yeah, I want to shift the focus a little bit to talk more about guilds and how the idea of a guild can aid gamers and investors when entering the GameFi space. So can you tell us a little bit about what does a gaming guild entail in the context of blockchain?
Yeah, so essentially at its core, a gaming guild is actually just a community of gamers together. And they're here to play these play and earn games and basically experience them. But outside of the community, there are definitely a lot of added features to take into account on also what the guild can do. So for example, my guild, we're focused on content and esports. So we're adding value to the community by writing Twitter threads, recording YouTube videos, streaming on Twitch, having TikTok videos, so on and so forth. So that's really where we're adding a lot of value to the gaming community, which is basically, the whole point of the guild, right? You have a community of players to play games, so you're adding value that way. We're doing content to also add value to games, and then we're also doing esports brand to also even add more value to games. So we just want to be 100% in this gaming ecosystem, from community to content to esports. And by adding all this value to the gaming ecosystem, games will want to reach out to us because they want us to be in their game and essentially provide community, provide content, provide some competitive players over to the game, right? And as a guild, the advantage here is that because we're providing all this value and these games want us in, we're able to get into the early rounds of the games, also advise the games on potentially how to help them structure the game, test out the game for them. And essentially getting in early is a super important fact in this world. And by setting up this guild infrastructure, you can get in early to these games, provide value to the game, and then not only that, you can also give out a lot of scholarships to your community and provide a lot of value to your scholars, because now you have all these assets in this game that they can play on.
So in summary, it's a community for people to game together. It's particularly for these specific games. How does someone get involved in a guild like this? Like what's the process? Is it as simple as joining a Discord group, or I'm curious how this kind of contrasts as well, like with a DAO?
So really, I would say the best way to join any gaming guild is just to join the Discord, hop in, talk around, meet the community, see if you really vibe with the community that's going on there. And then from there, it depends on really what you want to do. You could just basically have that community of gamers to play games with, just like you'd play games with your friends. Or you could be a scholar, essentially be renting out assets from the guild and basically making money on there. So those are the two main ways of being involved in just joining the guild. And at least for our guild, we're founded by pro players, pro gamers. So we're really here to cater to people who want to take games really seriously and basically to the top level. And we're catering around creating a like-minded experience for everyone in the guild to basically be okay, if you're a hardcore gamer, you want to be gaming with hardcore gamers most of the time. You don't really want to be gaming with someone who plays one game a week, right? Because it's just not the same mindset. The way I look at it is if you're an NBA player, you probably don't want to play against some high school kids in basketball, right? That's just no fun to you because it's just too easy.
Yeah.
So for the DAO part of things, essentially, I think most guilds are going to end up being a DAO, and really the entire point of the DAO is to have the community vote for certain decisions of the guild, whether it be allocations to how much you should invest in games, to what games we go into, to how much the team should get paid, so on and so forth, right? So essentially it's kind of like a board, and really the whole point of the DAO is to make sure you can limit essentially the corruption or whatever of a organization to where one person is taking advantage of everyone else because they just hold too much power, and the community can help keep them in check and also just align the community's thoughts and values with what they want to happen in the guild, instead of just one person just taking control and being like the overall dictator type person.
Right. Yeah, I think even the functionality for managing and like communicating, running a DAO, it's kind of still being built out. So I could see how maybe like for the guild side, like it sounds like you guys like these organizations will transfer over to a DAO eventually, but everyone's still kind of trying to figure out the space, right? Like how do we stick with the spirit of blockchain by decentralizing these decisions, but also like still needing to do things like you're saying, coordinate assets and work together on these games. So I definitely understand the guild perspective, like from the community side, but I was wondering if you could drill into a little bit more from like the investor perspective or the financial side. So you mentioned it like you can rent out particular in-game assets, and maybe like it's in a way a bit of like leverage, like trading or something. You put some collateral down, you rent out these assets, and then you can go use them in a game. And like you guys have like an asset repository which people can use, or like how does this benefit a member of the guild financially? What opportunities exist there?
Yeah. So basically what the guild does is we'll buy a bunch of these NFT assets, and say we'll have like 100 NFTs of a game, right? And we'll rent out these 100 NFTs to players who want to play the game, because we might not have, like, I'm one person, right? I can't play 100 different accounts at once. So I'm renting out these assets to people, and the way it generally works is you do something like a profit split between the earnings of the scholar, and essentially it's normally like a 50-50 profit split. It can change based on the game, based on the exact tokenomics of every game, so that's definitely not like some final numbers. But yeah, so like say the scholar, they're playing on the NFT asset, they make $100 in game. They get 50 and we get 50, and then everyone wins on our eyes, right? Because one, we have people who are playing using NFT assets, we get some cash flow there, and then the scholar also makes money. He didn't have to put down any capital to buy the NFT asset, so he's happy. And yeah, that's essentially the model here.
Sorry, just so a scholar, I'm just inferring here, is it's the individual that joins the guild. Is it?
Right. So a scholar in the guild is basically someone who rents out an asset and then splits the profits. Yeah, sorry about that, just to be clear.
Okay, yeah, so that makes sense. So these guilds, eventually they will be tokenized, it sounds like, in order to facilitate that profit sharing.
So the profit sharing normally happens actually within the game itself. It doesn't really happen within the guild token most of the time. So say we're playing Axie, the scholar makes 1,000 SLP, which is the Axie in-game currency. We'll take 500 of it, and then we'll send the scholar 500 of it, essentially. So it's not necessarily directly related to the token of the guild itself, but more to the game on that level.
So you guys have a token now, or you have plans to launch a token eventually?
Yeah. So yeah, we will be launching a token sometime in March. So yeah, stay tuned. And really, the token's utility is that you can stake the token for more rewards. You can use it in our community in terms of the economic need there, where I know we will be launching NFTs in the future as well. And you'll be able to be whitelisted for the NFTs if you hold a certain amount of the token. And then, one thing we're doing as a guild in the long run is we will be basically doing like a profit share from the entire guild operations, from how much we make in scholars, our gaming investments, our NFT sales, and that will all go back into the vault, which people are staking for. And then they're basically, kind of making like almost like a dividend, you could say. Don't really like to use that term in case the SEC comes around. But basically, the whole point of what I've learned from talking to lawyers is that as long as you have a DAO, that's actually, the dividend system is fine, because it's not like your DAO is in any single location, right? It's not really governed by one person. It's not an entity it's an entity of the world per se, not really of just the U.S. So that's like the one thing that I've heard from lawyers that really makes it exciting for like DAOs that happen, and also bypass the dirty SEC.
Yeah, those scumbags. You hear that, Gensler? No, but the amount of like kind of care that needs to go into these, like circumventing these legal restrictions can't really be understated. I think especially if you're US based and you fall under their tight grip, you kind of have to like be sort of careful. Like it's such a dirty word to say, like this is a security, right? But at the end of the day, a lot of these tokens do act as more sophisticated like securitization mechanisms. Like you have a pool of capital that you're trying to employ to return on some of these assets. But I didn't know that about the DAO, that actually like it gets around that in some ways. So I think we're going to see a lot of these things.
There's a lot more complex. There's definitely a lot more complexity to the legal structure of how we have things set up. I'm not going to go like super in depth. Just know, the structure gets pretty complex.
So coming up in March, huh? That's exciting, man. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of work, and you're going to learn a lot from that process. We'd be really interested to talk to you more about how that goes for you.